Liberty Counsel launches its 9th annual Friend or Foe Christmas campaign. I am Matt Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel. Joining me is Matt Barber, vice president of Liberty Counsel Action. Matt, this is the 9th year of our Friend or Foe Christmas campaign. It's designed to educate and, in certain cases, litigate to make sure that Christmas is not censored. First of all, we'll educate and be the friend of governmental entities or other entities to try to give them information and tell them what the law is. But if after doing so, they continue to censor the essence of Christmas, the Christian viewpoint of Christmas, then we will litigate. We also have our Friend and Foe Christmas campaign that has the naughty and nice list for retailers, which we'll talk about later in the program.
Well, for decades, there's been a creeping hostility toward Christmas, people capitulating to the dictates of political correctness and replacing Christmas and recognition of Christmas, a federal holiday, national holiday that is this nation is steeped in the Christmas tradition. This hostility toward Christmas has been really reaching a boil in recent decades and recent years, and Liberty Counsel is at the forefront and pushing back and holding people accountable for their politically correct hostility toward Christmas, and we've seen a tremendous success in the past few years. It seems that our nice list keeps getting longer and our naughty list keeps getting shorter.
That's right. Let's talk first of all about the public displays. Displays, for example, of nativity scenes on public property or singing Christmas carols in a public school. We have a memo, and we have a Christmas action pack that has the memos both for public displays, celebrating Christmas within a private employer context. And then we have our naughty and nice list. So let's first of all talk about what the law is with respect to putting a nativity scene on public property. Clearly, the Supreme Court and other courts have ruled that a nativity scene on public property is permissible, with Mary, Joseph, and the baby Jesus, all part of the nativity scene, if it's a publicly sponsored display owned and sponsored by, say, for example, City Hall on City Hall's property. It is permissible so long as there's a secular symbol of the holiday nearby, such as Santa Claus or the reindeer or the Christmas tree. You don't have to have all of those, but as long as you have some secular with the sacred, it's permissible. And that is the law of the land. It's been the law of the land with the Supreme Court for many years.
Yet we see municipalities around the country being led astray, being fed disinformation from the ACLU and other atheist groups, People for the American Way and others, those who really are at the forefront in spearheading this hostility toward Christmas, misguiding people and telling municipalities you can't have any recognition of Christmas whatsoever. It's always interesting to me how anything else goes, Santa Claus, the Star of David, pretty much anything. However, if you particularly, it's a hostility toward Christmas, and so we are righting this wrong. We are educating people and letting them know that not to listen to the ACLU and People for the American Way and Americans United for Separation of Church and State, because they don't know what they're talking about. They have a very a specific agenda. It's an anti-Christian agenda. It's an anti-Christmas agenda. So I encourage people to go to Liberty Counsel's website and learn what the law actually says about recognition of Christmas on public property.
Indeed. In fact, you can go to Liberty Counsel's website at lc.org. You can print off some of our memos. One of the memos that we're talking about is the memo regarding Christmas on public property, where you can have a nativity scene or some other kinds of religious symbols regarding Christmas on public property, as long as there's a secular symbol nearby. I would encourage you to not only get those, but to send those memos to your local city council, your county council or alderman, whatever they're called in your area, to do that now before you have a problem arise, because sometimes what happens is the ACLU or Americans United for Separation of Church and State and other organizations like them, Freedom from Religion Foundation, they'll send out these letters that are information, that they have information in it, but they're wrong information.
Right.
And they threaten them. They basically insinuate that you can't have any religious symbol at all on public property, and that, in fact, is completely wrong.
And that's by design. They do that every year in advance of the Christmas season. They send these paper tigers, threaten, as you mentioned, municipalities and individuals, government authorities, and send them this misinformation, this disinformation. It's disinformation because it's intentionally misleading. And so we are trying to counter that. We are sending them accurate information, what the law actually says, what case precedent actually says. And it's as simple as you stated earlier. As long as there's some secular symbol, a Santa Claus, a Frosty the Snowman, or something in the vicinity as part of the Christmas display on public property, then the nativity scene, recognition of baby Jesus, all of that is good to go. And so it's really that simple.
And the same holds true if you're having it in a Christmas pageant or songs in public schools.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. So you can have the Christmas songs, which include Silent Night, O Come, All You Faithful, and all of the great Christian songs of Christmas, as long as somewhere within the context you have some secular song, such
Rudolph,
as Frosty the Snowman, or Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. In fact, there was a case, there's several cases, but one case was basically where they actually had both secular and Christian songs, but the Christian songs predominated. And the court says you don't have to have a majority being secular, and it's not a percentage. As long as you have some kind of secular songs within the context, you can clearly do that. Now, what do you do if your school says, well, while we can do that, and we understand under the Constitution, we're not going to do that because it offends some people? I think that's where you need to get involved both politically and legally by taking only the Christian songs out and having only the secular songs. You're not showing neutrality, but you're showing hostility towards the Christian viewpoint. After all, it is a federal and state holiday, and it's called Christmas.
Yeah, then we move from their decision not to engage and have Christmas-related, true Christmas-related songs and information into, as you mentioned, viewpoint discrimination. Now they're stepping out of the realm of doing what is constitutional into doing what is unconstitutional, and that's a whole new bag of worms.
Yeah, not only would they offend a lot of people by doing that, but they would also offend the Constitution as well. Yeah. Now, you can also have privately sponsored nativity scenes or religious symbols on public property. And there was a case, for example, in Illinois where during Christmas they have a public park, and the public park allows at different times of the year standalone temporary displays that are put there by the citizens. And it will simply say that this display is sponsored by whatever organization or person. And it's in the public park. And this was a series of pictures of the life of Jesus leading up to the crucifixion. And it was done during Christmas. And someone sued, said that was unconstitutional. The court said, no, this was a private display in public property. And when you have a private display on public property in an open forum like that, you do not need secular symbols along with it because it's private. There is no establishment clause that's implicated in that kind of a situation.
Yeah, and what's interesting to me, though, is the Christmas season, you also get the atheists and others who insist on, and they take advantage of the Constitution. They insist on putting their atheist symbols and so forth. And for me, I just find that kind of amusing because they're just kind of encroaching on the Christmas season and really being kind of bah humbug, being the Grinch that stole Christmas, trying to do that. And that just reveals them and, again, betrays their hostility toward Christmas. This is the season, and we need to remember the reason for the season, and that's Christ.
No question about it. And in fact, we also have the naughty and nice list, which has the naughty side for retailers that profit off of Christmas, at the same time pretend that it doesn't exist, where they have a Christmas tree, they name it a holiday tree, or they have Happy Holidays and no Merry Christmas. And then we also have the nice list, and that's the retailers that actually acknowledge that Christmas exists, saying Merry Christmas or having greetings of Merry Christmas, really calling Christmas trees what they are, Christmas trees. And you can make a decision by shopping at those that are nice and not at those that are on the naughty side. In fact, there's been a huge change from the naughty side to the nice side because people like you have made a difference. And in fact, I would encourage you to call those retailers on the naughty side and tell them why you're not going to patronize them this year and why you're patronizing their competition. It will make a big difference. Call 1-800-671-1776 for more information. You can also go to lc.org. When you call or go to the website and send an email, you can ask for the Christmas Action Pack, which has some bumper stickers and pins. The I Help Save Christmas and I Love with a Heart Christmas, Christ all caps, the bumper sticker or particularly the pin, are great things to have during this Christmas season. Plus, we also have a lot of the information that we talked about on this program. We can also give you some material for Christmas. This is a nice little thing that you can put in the stocking stuffer, so to speak. It's the New England Primer. For a contribution of only $7, we'll send it to you right away. It's a great little piece of American history, how our young children learned the ABCs. They learned in Adam's fall we sinned all, heaven to find, the Bible mine, and Christ crucified for sinners died. We'll see you next time.